This is a review of a game rated 16 due to some occasional violence, sexual references, and swearing. Alright, a lot of swearing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tonight's review, Beyond Two Souls. Jodie is a girl born with a connection to the spirit world. A spirit named Aiden is tied to her, and has powers which can be seen as either a gift or a curse. From child to agent, from fugitive to hero. This is her life story.
No one knows what you're going to find on the other side.
I don't think I'm ready to train any for one yet.
Hi there, it's me the Jonin Monkey again, once again reviewing the best and the worst of video game storytelling. I can't put this off any longer. It's time to talk about Mr. David Cage. David Cage is a man I want to like. He has written and directed 3 high-profile games with a strong focus on narrative, and while some have accused him of being a frustrated filmmaker, he is constantly speaking about how much he loves video games and wants their storytelling to improve. As a fan of gaming narrative myself, I respect him, but I honestly can't say I'm a big fan of him. There's one simple reason for this. Alright, 2, he comes off as rather smug in interviews, but the main reason is the blunt truth that I just don't like what I've seen of his writing style. If I had to sum up my feelings in a few words, I'd describe his writing style as a soap opera with delusions of grandeur. But I still respect Cage's ideals, and I want him to prove me wrong with a good story. So we're gonna look at his latest work at the time of recording, Beyond Two Souls. So let's get this review started. I'll start off by saying that whatever weaknesses his writing has, David Cage will always be great at presentation. Beyond looks and sounds fantastic. The atmosphere is always perfect for the moment, and each location is filled with details that create the illusion that these are real places teeming with life, rather than static world maps. And the acting is really good as well. David Cage is one of the few people who is smart enough to realise that actors from the film industry work better when they're on a set than in a booth, hence the decision to use motion capture for this game, which in my opinion was a really good call. No matter what I say about Jodie as a character, I will not deny that Elaine Page gives us a great performance from start to finish, closely followed by William Dafoe in his role as Nathan Dawkins. Another signature of Mr. Cage's work is giving every action in the game a QuickTime event, which is not only charming in its own way, but it allows the plot to have a wide variety of set pieces. One moment you're writing an exam, the next you're in a boxing match. One moment you're horse riding, the next running away from a demonic entity. You're rarely doing the same thing twice. Hell, my favourite chapter in the game has Jodie living on the streets and trying to raise enough money to buy food. When are you ever going to see this in a mainstream game? And this is where the review gets complicated. You see, at its core, Beyond is purely about emotion. The drama is the driving force of the story, and everything else is secondary. That doesn't automatically make it bad, but contrary to popular belief, emotions aren't universal. I mean, sure, we all cry, but that doesn't mean we cry over the same things. It's the reason why words such as bathos and Nam exist. I will admit, I almost cried during the scene when Nathan learns about the death of his family, especially when he tries to remain strong before slowly breaking down. But I can understand people being unmoved by this, especially when you remember that this is only the second time his family has even been mentioned in the story. Some players may have been truly invested in Jodie's date and were doing everything they could to make sure it went just right. I, on the other hand, found the task of cleaning a digital woman's house to be dull, and listening to the couple's small talk incredibly tedious. Some may have been in tears when this man loses the closest thing he has to a mother. I just found it hilarious. What I'm trying to say is, it's hard to tell you whether I can recommend Beyond or not, because it entirely depends on whether you can invest yourself in the story's drama. All I can do right now is explain why Beyond's narrative just didn't appeal to me personally. Let's start by looking at the plot structure. We begin with Jodie's facing a void, saying that her memories are mixed up due to the events of the climax, and she needs to try and remember everything that happened. This means nothing in the grand scheme of the story, and seems to be nothing more than a weak excuse to play each memory out of order in a manner that resembles Pulp Fiction, save for the fact that Pulp Fiction had a reason for that structure.
I might just as well start here.
I thought it might have been a gameplay issue, that they needed to mix up the action sequences with the childhood drama, but the only levels that needed to be played earlier were the first experiment and the CIA tutorial. There were plenty of action scenes set in Jodie's childhood, so we didn't need to shake up the order like this. In fact, this structure often weakens critical moments in the story. For example, in one scene, we see Jodie being forcefully drafted into the CIA and being removed from the loving care of Nathan and Cole. This is carried out by this charming agent named Ryan.
Jesus, listen up, Miss Holmes. I don't give a shit about your pathetic adolescent pouting, alright? You can rant and rave all you want, but you'll shut your mouth and do as you're told.
After seeing something like that, I'm sure most of you would be ready to hate Ryan with all your heart. Except the scene that plays right after this has Jodie talking about what a great guy Ryan is and preparing to go on a date with him.
You know what? I happen to think Ryan is great. Right? He's charming.
Hey! I'm sick and tired of hearing you complaining. That's all you have to say, then shut the fuck up.
He's intelligent. He's funny.
Welcome to the CIA, Jodie. It's not fucking choir practice in case you haven't noticed.
And I think I'm falling for him.
Do I need to say anything at this point? And then there's poor Nathan, whose character can best be summarized like this. Jodie, I know it's been difficult, what with the CIA and your strange powers, but I hope you realize that for the last 20 years, I've done my best to take care of you, to be the father that you've never had. Oh, by the way, remember when you were 8 and you were possessed by my dead family? Well, that inspired me in my later years to resurrect the dead. And to do it, I'm going to merge the spirit world with this one. I'm not insane. I'm just emotional. I could not see a good reason for this structure until I started to think about Jodie as a character, how she developed through the story, or what her basic personality was, and discovered that it's all over the place. These aren't all parts of a larger story. They're mostly self-contained episodes of Jodie's life that occasionally refer to other episodes. Jodie has no consistent character trait, aside from swearing or crying, because she has to be moulded into the person that scene needs and react accordingly. In childhood, she's ridiculously girly and innocent, save for the moments where she has to spout trailer lines.
You told me monsters didn't exist. You were wrong, Mommy, you were wrong.
When she's bullied at a party, she's a shy, sheltered bookworm who only wants a friend. When she needs to be taken down a peg, she's a loud, rebellious, stroppy, guitar-wielding punk. She just goes from one emotional state to another, wearing whatever clothing matches the obvious visual cues the story needs. My favourite example of this is when Jodie's on the run, and in the span of a few months we go from dangerous loner, to tragic victim, to weary backpacker, and finally normal girl again, because she's meeting with her family, and you don't want dirty clothes for a scene like that. It would just be distracting.
You've lost weight. You look exhausted.
She looks fine! This has always been my biggest problem with David Cage's writing style. he leaps straight to the big dramatic moments without taking the time to develop his narrative so that we've actually earned those moments. You might be able to tug a few heartstrings that way, but more often than not, the audience can see your desperation and will either laugh in your face or roll their eyes at your efforts. Which leads me to the top 10 things that made me laugh or cringe whilst playing this game. Number 10. This child tries to choke Jodie with a snowball. For no reason. Number 9. Jodie is apparently the most heartwarming busker ever.
Fighting for a lost cause.
Number 8. A group of Native Americans are haunted by an ancient curse and keep referring to their 4-person tribe as their people. Number 7. Jodie's foster father is an emotionally inept arsehole.
You'll see. Time will go by fast.
Susan, we need to go. There's no reason to drag this out.
Number 6. Teenagers are evil because they hide beer from their parents and dislike Edgar Allan Poe.
I can't believe you came all the way to my birthday party just to give me this old crap.
Number 5. Jodie delivers a surprisingly clean baby for a homeless woman in an abandoned house. Number 4. When the CIA aren't incompetent idiots complaining about the cold, they're cartoonist supervillains who kill peaceful leaders for no reason and seek nothing less than world domination.
We have discovered a new world. A world for us to conquer.
Number 3. One of the biggest action sequences in the game takes place in the fictional evil nation of Kazakhstan.
Taking credit, we're terrorists from Durkistan.
Of course, Durkistan.
Number 2. Kazakhstan is clearly a fusion of Russia, North Korea and China, and they apparently have enough funds to build an underwater Bond villain base. And number 1. Everything about punk Jodie. From the soccer mom vision of rebellion to the fact that her punishment for disobeying her guardians is almost getting raped. And of course she gives up the punk fashion once she's learned her lesson, because only naughty people wear those clothes, right? Okay, that may have been harsh. Beyond is not that bad a story. There are a few effective scenes here and there, and like I said, I loved the homeless chapter, as goofy as it was at times. It's a unique experience with great acting and beautiful visuals. The problem is the game lives and dies by its drama, and if that doesn't appeal to you, it has nothing else to fall back on. In short, whilst I didn't care for Beyond overall, I'd still say it's David Cage's best work so far, and I'm glad it exists to provide us with variety. I've been the Jonin Monkey, and until next time, cheerio.